Okay, so from there, what happens next?
There's so many things though, Matt. Don't forget it's New Edition. We got tentacles that go 1,000
I
ways.
know.
You
Like,
gotta help
okay,
me. I gotta go
all
where
right.
you want me to go.
Gearing up for the second album.
Okay.
Second tour, second album.
Okay.
You got to get in the studio and make these new records.
Okay.
Are there writers? Like, what's the process like? Wrangling a bunch of project
well,
kids
before
to
we
make an
move
album.
on, it's only right we acknowledge Maurice Starr.
Okay.
Okay. Not enough people talk about him, but Maurice Starr in Boston was our version of Berry Gordy. You understand what I'm saying? He's the one that said, you know, I'm gonna make these records on y'all, which we really didn't know what was going on, and you know, Ralph was really used a lot on the first album, you know.
Right.
Excuse me, rightfully so. And we just noticing, you know, Jealous Girl, Candy Girl, Is This the End, and the album shaping and molding. And, you know, the rest of us are trying to figure out, you know, they're gonna get apart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get apart, something, right?
Yeah,
So,
something, right.
you know, we trying to find out who we were. And he helped us become his vision of the Jackson 5. And he moved that machine through Ralph. And he found the roles for Bobby and Ricky, and then he brought me and Ronnie along slowly. So we took his teaching to the next album, which we didn't make with him. Which to me, because of a couple of business things between us, I always wondered what would our second album sound like with his sound. Because he had that African Bambaataa funky shit going. He was that Planet Rock, you know, the vocoder that Teddy and you know, Zap be doing, Roger did. He was on that shit, and he made some nice, funky, ghetto, young people records. But we ran into some new producers, and then we ran into a legend with Ray Parker Jr. that did Telephone Man. So I think, honestly, the second album to me moved a little more mainstream, whereas the first album was a little more basement.
Right.
You know, Cool It Now. To me, was just another version of Candy Girl. But Telephone Man with Bob was just rich and just soulful. And it was young. And then it had the Temptations, the vocal switching and shit. I had a talking part. So I felt like we started finding out who we were. And I thought that album gave us a bigger audience. Because Cool It Now and Telephone Man went all the way to like Dick Clark and all that. It was moving. It started with Soul Train, but it started, you know, we performing on other TV shows, white shows, big shows. And I think the second album opened it up a little bit.
Were any of these songs geared towards anybody? Or did you guys direct them towards anybody?
As far as what? The music?
As far as like, okay, so watching the special on you guys, we know that by this time, the environment's changing. We had another Boston legend in here yesterday, Benzino. He was explaining, you know, what was happening in Boston, and you guys being from the project, shit was changing. Bobby's running around with girls and getting chicks pregnant and shit like that. Was the Cool It like, yo, Bobby, cool it down, what you doing? Like, was y'all like doing that with each other, or was it just writers coming in?
See, like me and Bob was in the group together, Ricky and Ralph was together.
Right.
And Bob to me was like a project kid. He never really left the project. He was just a pop locker and a dancer. So it's kind of hard to say he was wilding when he was just young.
Right.
I didn't really see him like, you know what I mean? He the man you go see in the hallway, or he the man sitting in the car. That's not Bob.
Right.
You know, I think Bob humping on stage, you know, probably getting arrested for that, put a little pepper on his salt. You feel me?
Right.
But in terms of a young teenage kid, he was just wanting to throw parties. He wanted to throw a party, this, that, and the third. He had one girlfriend who was the mother of his 2 children. And I didn't see that, and I'm right here beside him. But I think a a couple of his incidents in the press. And we know Bob, he looked at that like, oh shit, that's working. So he just stayed in that mode. You understand what I'm saying? And he know he listened to me like, Mike, don't get too deep with it. No, I'm gonna let it stay the myth. But he was a good kid. He wasn't like that. And I think he just wanted to be a star. So he moved like a star.
Right.
He the one that told us we was gonna be on Soul Train. So he was more into it than anybody else.
Right.
So he would wear the leather jacket with no shirt. He's like, yo, this what the fuck the stars wear. But he wasn't, he ain't stick nobody up. And he didn't move no corners like that.
They went hard to paint him in that light, though. In the press, they went hard to paint him in that light.
Him as a bad
Well, it
boy.
started in the South when they told him don't do the pelvic thrust because they didn't want it for the kids. And Bob still did it and ran off stage. So I think that moment there, put the pepper in there.
Is that a crime? Is that a crime?
I think that's what they were saying. I don't know if it was Augusta or Savannah. It was Macon. It was somewhere where they told him don't do it. And he just still did it and broke out. So the show was cut short. He broke out. And I think
He didn't have a warrant out for his arrest for it?
I think they was looking for him. If I can remember, they was looking for him. And I think that's probably just, you know.
What was your reaction to that? Like you on stage and then you're like, Bob, don't do it. But
but you know what? To be honest with you, I don't think it was a New Edition show. I think that was his shit.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? The nigga can't run off on our show. You don't run off on our Brooklyn. Hell no. Nah. We gonna start this motherfucker together. We gonna end together.
Right.
And I think that was his tour. And I think he was just finding himself. I mean, to be honest with you, when you sit with him, he could tell you more. But Bob wanted to be like Rick James. So he was doing what he saw as a 15-year-old.
Right.
You know, shirt off, pumping, and whatever that was. Because his nickname was Flash B. That was his way of being that, you know.
To further Mav's question, with all the songs you guys created at that time, did art imitate life? Like, were there things happening in you guys' lives individually or collectively where y'all was like, yo, we got to write a song about this? Right. Or get someone to write a song about this?
I think on the second album, Ralph and Ricky wrote Leaving You Again. And those two were turning out to be songwriters within our crew. And that's the record that Sierra and Bow Wow did over. They did the music over.
Yeah. Yep.
And they were ahead of their time. You know, they were on their Jimmy and Cherry, and I think that record was probably the first emotional statement. And I really don't know who they was talking about, but it was just amazing looking at them with the little Tascam 4-track and Ralph and Rick and their writing. Those was our first stars as production.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work you heard. Making fiends leave earth you heard. Got your baby mama thirst you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf you heard.